Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Shogun Episode 7, A Stick of Time. In this episode, outplayed by the new alliances in Osaka, Toranaga is forced to carve out a deal with a long-lost family member. As always, there will be spoilers in the review, so please go watch the episode before we talk about it. Let's go over the cast here. Of course, we have Hiroyuki Sanada as Yoshi Toranaga. We have Anasawa as Toto Mariko. We also have Cosmo Jarvis as John Blackthorn. Fumi Nakaido as Lady Ochiba Okada, who's really not a big part of this episode. We also have Moeka Hoshi as Usami Fuji. We have Yuka Kuri as Lady Kiku. Tadanobu Asano as Kashigi Yabushige, who's one of Yoshi's lieutenants. Takahiro Hira as Ishiro Kazanori, and introducing Eita Okuno as Zaeki Nobutatsu, who is Toranaga's half sibling. What a fantastic episode! This is man. Last week's episode was really good. This week's episode was really good. I wouldn't know. They're probably like two of my favorite episodes of the season so far. So let's kind of talk about what happened, and I'll talk more about this episode. We begin with a flashback to Toranaga's first battle when he was young. According to the show, about 12 years old, when he commanded his first army to win a battle. Interestingly enough, like it is a tale that kind of keeps coming back recurringly throughout the episode. And then we flash forward to present day. Toranaga and his army go meet his half brother Saeki, uh, who makes a really grand entrance. Right, obviously full of tension. It seems like they haven't really talked to each other for a while, but in the end, everything seems friendly. So they kind of go back, and Toranaga has a big ask of his half brother, and I think that will definitely come up. So we'll talk about that in a minute. We also followed John, who's really anxious about his role. I think Jarvis plays this really well because he is definitely. It's like he's trapped in a cage that only appears to be like freedom, but it's really not. Um, then also we see that Fuji is visited by. She calls him grandfather, but I think that maybe her late husband's dad instead. I don't know. It wasn't very clear to me, unfortunately. Um, we have this really, really like probably the best scene of or the best sequence of the episode is this dinner scene. Once again, during food exchanges, how the tensions can rise and things can really escalate. Uh, you know, uh, Saeki is telling tales of when Yoshi was young. We revisit that scene from earlier in the episode, but then he also bring up a story that would be pretty embarrassing, and that's kind of where things take a turn. Like even the whole tone of the episode really shifts because up to this point we figure that his brother's going to help him out, right? He's kind of in a tough spot. Uh, but no, that's not the case. I really felt like that was a point. Like when he started talking about the second story that's really embarrassing and pretty much disrespecting Toranaga, that's when I knew that there was something else. There was some betrayal coming. I even wrote it. I even wrote it in big letters in my notes. Betrayal. So it looks like Seiki received another offer. Ishido appointed Saeki to the council of the regents, and also he sent a letter for Toranaga's son to pretty much kill himself for his crimes in the earlier battle. Um, the lady of I don't remember her name, but the lady that runs the brothel, she asked for Toranaga's time. She makes the proposal, and I think she's going to become an intricate piece of what's going to happen going forward. So that's really interesting to see, especially after all the setup we had last episode of how the women are probably a lot more important to the everything that's going on than you've been probably first led to believe. Uh, uh, Yabushige and the nephew and they all go kind of take a dip. Um, Also, we see that Buntaro and Yabushige they start bullying John for no reason, up to the point where Buntaro is about to kill him. And then which the crazy part is that after that, Bontaro goes to ask Toranaga if he can kill John. I think he realizes that there's something between him and Mariko, but obviously he can't really act, or he shouldn't act without Toranaga's permission, as John is a pretty important piece of his plans. Um, but Mariko at this point is confronted by Toranaga about her priorities, right? Is she really willing to take the mission, to take the fight? That's why she's doing that's why Toranaga has her doing everything that she's doing, because she sees her as an ally. But here she kind of he kind of doubts that her resolve is as strong as we might have believed. Um, Toranaga keeps thinking about his original battle, which is, like I said, very interesting that we kind of keep going back to that. We discover that uh, when he when that battle, the general who lost asked him to be a second when he's committing the seppuku to kill himself, and of course he was a boy of 12. There's no way he got that head off in one swing. They comment that it took 9 blows for him to finally, like, his head to come off, um, which is again interesting because his brother earlier mentioned that there are stories that become legacy and there are stories that are just myth. So we know that this, the myth of the boy warlord of Toranaga has followed him around probably most of his life. But there are a few who know what really happened there. Uh, Lady Kiku is with Saiki at the moment. She was kind of commissioned for the whole week to spend time with him. But this is when Yoshi's son strikes. Um, it's really interesting because they built up this really high point of tension. Like, is this going to be the thing that saves Toranaga? And then just very suddenly, Yoshi's son trips on a rock, falls, and just hit his head and dies. And it's like, that's one of those moments that you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? But even then, like, it was a really beautifully framed shot at the end as the camera's kind of panning out, and you see that maybe Toranaga doesn't really have anything that's going to help him out of this mess. So we'll see. I also noted that there was a lot of rain throughout the episode. I think obviously not only does that set the mood, but also kind of serves as a little bit of foreshadowing as to how the tide has really turned on the battle. That Toranaga doesn't really have, it's not very clear, right? Because with the rain comes that mist that comes out of the lake, so it's not very clear where his future lies. So I thought that was a really cool addition to it, and I bet it's kind of it's a pain. It's got to be a pain in the ass to shoot in the rain. So very interesting. There was a lot of scenes where you could tell that the characters are supposed to be cold. You see the breath coming out of their mouths. You see them struggling in the rain. One of the reasons Saike almost died was because he tripped over his own robe because of the rain, and then once again also Yoshi's-san also tripped on a rock because it was slippery because of the rain. So interestingly, how nature has really screwed over Toranaga and his forces in the past few episodes. First we had that earthquake, now we have the rain that's kind of messing things up for him. So I don't know. Let me know what you thought about this episode. I think the next one might be the last one because Toranaga has decided to turn himself in to the council. We'll see what happens there. I'm very excited. I really love this show. So if you have seen Shogun episode 7, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Remember to share, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live. That is most Saturdays, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Stay tuned. We have more comic reviews, trailer reactions, TV recaps, all that fun stuff in the channel. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye-bye.